On a stormy night, Tom, a humble single dad and mechanic, finds himself in the right place at the right time when a luxurious car spins out of control. Without hesitation, he rushes to save Victoria, a powerful businesswoman whose life hangs in the balance. With the crash barely behind them, Tom doesn't expect anything in return. But the next morning, everything changes. Victoria's lawyers knock on his door with shocking news. She wants to meet him, and her gratitude comes with more than just a thank you. What begins as a simple act of kindness soon turns into a whirlwind of wealth, power, and life-altering decisions. Victoria offers Tom a fortune, a chance to change his and his son's life forever. As Tom is pulled deeper into her world, he finds himself grappling with an opportunity that's too good to refuse, but one that also raises questions about loyalty, trust, and his own identity. In a story where the stakes are high and every decision could alter their futures, Tom must decide, can he balance his humble roots with the world of luxury? And could saving a life lead to a new kind of love, or is it all just a business transaction? It was a rainy night in the small town of Riverside. The streets glistened under the dim streetlights, the sound of raindrops hitting the asphalt a constant rhythm. Tom, a mechanic and single father, was on his way home after a long shift at the garage. His worn-out truck hummed quietly through the slick roads. Ethan, his young son, sleeping in the passenger seat, a half-eaten sandwich forgotten in his lap. Tom wasn't worried about the weather. He'd driven through worse. But tonight, something felt different. The wind was picking up, howling through the trees as the rain grew heavier. Tom's headlights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the road. He rubbed his eyes, trying to shake off the fatigue that had settled in his bones. Then it happened. Ahead, the screeching of tires sliced through the night. Tom's heart stopped as a sleek black car appeared out of nowhere, skidding across the wet road. It swerved violently, sliding off the pavement before flipping onto its roof. The car tumbled down a small embankment, sparks flying as it landed with a deafening thud. The moment the car hit the ground, flames began to crawl from under the crumpled hood. Without a second thought, Tom slammed on the brakes, the tires squealing as he swerved off the road to avoid the wreckage. His truck came to a halt just inches away from the fire, and he didn't waste a single moment. He bolted out of the vehicle, barely grabbing a jacket as he ran toward the wrecked car. Inside, a woman was struggling, trapped by the seatbelt, her face pale and panicked. The smoke from the flames was thick, and the car's gas tank could go up at any second. Tom yanked the door open with all his might, his hands shaking from both fear and adrenaline. He reached in, unbuckling her seatbelt, and pulled her out of the car just in time. She was unconscious, her body limp in his arms, but Tom didn't stop. He carried her to safety, away from the growing fire, not stopping until they were a safe distance away. He laid her down on the wet grass, trying to steady his breathing. Her skin was cold, and her breathing was shallow. He quickly checked for a pulse, still there, but weak. Without wasting any time, he called 911, giving them the details before performing CPR until help arrived. His mind raced, trying to process what had just happened. This woman, this stranger, was alive because of him. Minutes later, the ambulance arrived, the paramedics rushing to take over. Tom stepped back, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion wash over him. He looked down at the woman's face. She was still unconscious, her features delicate and refined. There was something about her that made her stand out, an air of sophistication even in the chaos of the moment, but none of that mattered now. He had done what anyone would have done. He had saved her life. As the paramedics took her away, Tom returned to his truck. Ethan stirred in his seat, groggily waking up. "Dad, what happened?" Ethan asked, rubbing his eyes. "Nothing, buddy. Just had to help someone out," Tom replied, his voice shaking more than he intended. The news of the crash spread quickly. By morning, Riverside was abuzz with the heroic story of a local mechanic who saved a wealthy woman from a fiery car wreck. Tom didn't care for the attention, though. He just wanted to get back to his simple life with Ethan. He hadn't even had time to think about the woman he saved. The adrenaline from the night before had worn off, replaced by the usual routine. Breakfast with Ethan, a quick visit to the garage, and checking the bills stacked on the kitchen counter. His phone rang as he was closing the garage door. "Tom, it's Mike. Did you hear the news?" Mike was his best friend, a guy who'd been with him through thick and thin. "Yeah, I heard. They're calling me a hero or something." "Not a big deal, Mike," Tom replied, wiping his hands on a rag. "Well, it is a big deal. They say she's some big-shot businesswoman. You saved her life, Tom. People are going to remember that." "I didn't do it for the recognition," Tom muttered. I know, but she might want to thank you or something. You should have seen the news. They were all over that crash. They even showed footage of you pulling her out of the car." Tom sighed. "I don't need anything from her. Just glad she's okay." But Mike was insistent. "You never know, man. This could change things for you. I mean, who knows? Maybe she's got money or connections that could help you." Tom rubbed his temple. "I don't know, Mike. I just want to move on." Meanwhile, across town, Victoria, the woman he saved, was recovering in a private hospital room. Despite the severe injuries she sustained from the crash, her doctors were optimistic about her recovery. Her lawyer, Cliff, sat by her bed, discussing the situation. "She's alive, Victoria," Cliff said, holding a tablet with footage from the accident. "A mechanic from Riverside saved you. The news is already calling him a hero." Victoria looked at the screen, still dazed from the painkillers. "I don't even remember much of it. Just flashes, but I know he saved my life." She paused, her eyes narrowing. "What do you think I should do, Cliff?" Cliff was a man of business, always calculating. "We should reach out to him, offer him something, money, a thank you, whatever it takes. He deserves it. But be careful. People like him might not take kindly to feeling indebted." Victoria nodded slowly. "I'll meet him. I'll figure out how to show my gratitude." The next morning, Tom was at the garage, going through the usual grind of work, when a sleek black car pulled up outside. His eyes narrowed as a man in a suit stepped out. Tom wiped his hands on his coveralls and walked outside to meet him. "Can I help you?" Tom asked, raising an eyebrow. The man gave a polite smile, adjusting his glasses. "Mr. Tom Davis?" "That's me," Tom replied, still confused. "I'm Cliff, attorney for Miss Victoria Hartley," the man said. "She would like to meet you. We need to talk." Tom hesitated, not sure what to make of the situation. "I don't know if I need to meet anyone. I just did what any decent person would have done." Cliff nodded. "I understand, but Miss Hartley insists. She wants to thank you personally. There's also something else she wants to discuss. I can assure you it's important." Tom felt a knot form in his stomach. "I don't need anything from her. I just did what anyone would have done." Cliff's demeanor didn't change. "I understand, but please think it over. She's incredibly grateful for your actions." Tom stood there feeling conflicted. He never asked for anything in return, but now a part of him felt curious. Why would someone like her, a person of wealth and status, want to meet him? "I'll think about it," Tom said finally. "I'll let you know." Cliff handed him a business card and turned to leave. But Tom couldn't shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something he hadn't prepared for. A few days later, Tom received a call from Cliff. confirming that Victoria wanted to meet him at her mansion. He felt uneasy about the whole situation, but couldn't help his curiosity. What could she possibly want? It wasn't every day a mechanic like him got invited into the world of the rich and famous. Tom arranged for Ethan to spend the night at Mike's house, feeling a sense of unease creeping over him. He showered and dressed in his best shirt, though it was nothing like what he imagined wealthy people would wear. When he arrived at Victoria's estate, he was taken aback by its size. The gates opened automatically as he drove through the perfectly manicured lawns and past fountains that seemed to shimmer in the evening light. The mansion itself was a sprawling structure with tall windows and an elegant facade. A butler greeted him at the door and led him inside, where the air was cool and fresh, completely different from the cramped, warm space he was used to. Tom was escorted to a large, well-lit room where Victoria sat in a plush chair, a blanket draped over her legs as she recovered from the crash. She looked much more composed than he'd imagined, her eyes bright and grateful. "Thank you, Tom," she said with a soft smile. "I don't think I can ever fully repay you for what you did." Tom felt awkward standing there. "You don't have to repay me, I just did what needed to be done." Victoria's smile faded slightly. "I insist. I can't just let you walk away without showing my gratitude." The moment hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Tom wasn't sure what to expect, but he never imagined it would lead to the life-changing proposition she was about to offer. The silence in Victoria's lavish sitting room was almost suffocating. Tom stood, still unsure of why he was there, while Victoria watched him carefully from her seat. The evening sunlight filtered through the large windows, casting a soft glow on her face, but Tom couldn't help feeling like he didn't belong in such an extravagant place. Victoria shifted in her chair, her gaze unwavering. "I've been thinking a lot about the accident, Tom," she began, her voice calm but filled with emotion. "I'm not used to being indebted to anyone but what you did for me. It was beyond what I could ever expect from a stranger." Tom shifted uncomfortably, his hands shoved in his pockets. "I don't need anything, really. I just did what I could. It was nothing." Victoria's lips curved into a soft smile. "I don't believe it was nothing. You didn't just save my life. You acted without hesitation, without thinking of the consequences, and that's something I respect deeply." She paused for a moment as if weighing her next words carefully. "That's why I want to offer you something." Tom blinked, confused. "Offer me something? What do you mean?" "I want to help you, Tom," she continued, her voice unwavering. "I have a business, a few of them actually, and I think there's an opportunity for you to get involved. You're a mechanic, right?" "Yeah, I work at the garage," Tom answered, still puzzled. Victoria leaned forward slightly, her eyes narrowing in on him. "I need someone with practical experience to help me with a new project. My company has a fleet of high-end vehicles, and we've been looking for someone who knows how to maintain them, someone who can see things others can't. I think you're that person." Tom's heart raced as he processed what she was saying. "You want me to work for you?" "Yes," she said firmly. "I want you to join my company as a consultant. You'd help redesign our fleet, advise on the mechanical needs, and make sure everything is in top condition. I'd pay you well, of course, more than well." Tom stood in stunned silence, unsure of what to say. He hadn't expected any of this. I don't know," he muttered, his thoughts racing. He had always dreamed of a better life, but this was so far removed from the world he knew. "I'm not sure I'm the right person for the job. I'm just a mechanic." Victoria didn't flinch. "I've seen your work. You're more than just a mechanic, Tom. You're resourceful, intelligent, and you think on your feet. I believe in you, and I want to offer you this opportunity." Tom felt the weight of her words settle heavily on his shoulders. He had never been offered anything like this before, an opportunity to step into a new world, a world of wealth and luxury. But was it too good to be true? Was he prepared for such a massive change? "I'll need time to think about it," he said finally, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts running through his mind. Victoria's eyes softened, and she gave a small nod. "Of course, take all the time you need, but remember, the offer stands." Over the next few days, Tom couldn't stop thinking about Victoria's offer. He'd never imagined he would be faced with a choice like this. He had been struggling to make ends meet for so long, and now there was a chance for something more, a chance to not just survive, but to thrive. He kept telling himself it was too good to be true, that he didn't belong in that world. But every time he thought about it, he couldn't shake the idea of what he could do for Ethan, of what kind of life he could give his son if he accepted. Tom could already picture them in a nicer home, a better school, maybe even a vacation one day. Still, the world Victoria occupied seemed so far removed from the world Tom knew. It wasn't just the money, it was everything. The way she carried herself, the elegance in her voice, the smooth way she talked about business. Could he really fit in? As the days passed, he found himself thinking about her more than he wanted to admit. There was something about her that drew him in, a quiet strength, a sincerity in her eyes that didn't match the coldness of the life she led. She wasn't like the people he expected to meet in her circle. She seemed real. When he saw her again a few days later, Tom realized he wasn't just thinking about the job offer anymore. He was thinking about her. Victoria wasn't just a rich woman. She was someone who had been through something. She had survived the crash, just like him. Maybe, in some ways, they were both trying to rebuild. Their conversation flowed naturally, and Tom found himself enjoying her company more than he had expected. They talked about their lives, her journey into the world of business, his life as a mechanic and a single dad, and something unspoken lingered between them. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you," Victoria said with a small smile as they sat in the drawing room, a glass of water in hand. "Someone who's so grounded, so real." Tom was taken aback. "I'm just a guy trying to make a living, nothing special." She shook her head. "No, there's more to you than that. I can see it." For the first time, Tom began to believe that maybe there was more to him, too. He didn't just fix cars. Maybe he could fix something bigger, his life, his future. Tom's decision weighed heavily on him, but the more he thought about it, the more the idea of change felt inevitable. The job was an incredible offer. Money, stability, respect, but it wasn't just that. There was something else. There was the potential for a different life, a life where he could give Ethan everything he had always dreamed of. A few days later, Cliff, Victoria's lawyer, arrived at the garage with a legal document in hand. Tom's heart skipped a beat when he saw it. "This is a formal offer," Cliff said, sliding the paperwork across the counter. It's not just a job, Tom. It's a partnership. You'll have a stake in Victoria's company, a percentage of profits, and a chance to rise through the ranks. We believe you'll be a valuable asset to the team." Tom stared at the document, disbelief creeping in. A stake in her company, a percentage of profits. He'd never imagined such an opportunity, and the numbers on the page were overwhelming. Cliff didn't seem to notice Tom's hesitation. "This is life-changing, Tom. Don't let it slip away. You've got a chance to secure a future for yourself and your son." Tom's mind raced. He had never been one for big decisions. He had always kept his life simple, focused on the day-to-day struggles of getting by. But this offer, it was different. "I need time to think," Tom said, his voice firm despite the storm of emotions inside. "This is a lot to take in." Cliff nodded, standing up. "Of course, we'll give you all the time you need. Just know that this offer is open for a limited time. Don't miss out on a chance like this." After Cliff left, Tom sat alone in the garage, staring at the papers before him. He thought about his son. He thought about his own life, the years of scraping by, the missed opportunities, the sacrifices. Could this really be the change he had been waiting for? Tom spent the next few days in a state of indecision. Every time he thought about the offer, the weight of it threatened to crush him. It wasn't just about money, it was about the life he had always wanted. But it was also about who he was and who he had always been. His best friend Mike could see the struggle in his eyes when they met for their usual drink at the local bar. "Tom, this is your chance," Mike said, his voice serious. "You've been stuck in that garage for years. You've got a kid to take care of. This could change everything for both of you." "I know," Tom replied, swirling his beer in his glass. "But it's not just about money. It's about who I'd become. I'm not like these people, Mike. I'm a mechanic. I fix cars. I don't belong in their world." Mike chuckled. "Man, don't sell yourself short. You saved her life. You're already more than just a mechanic. This could be the break you've been waiting for." Tom thought about it, but doubt still crept in. What would happen to his identity? Would he be able to balance who he was with this new world of wealth and power? Could he remain true to himself, or would he lose himself in it? But as he looked at Ethan's picture on his phone, the answer became clearer. He wasn't just thinking about himself anymore. He was thinking about the life he could give Ethan, a better life. And maybe, just maybe, this offer was his chance to make it happen. Days after receiving Victoria's incredible offer, Tom found himself at a crossroads. The decision to join her company and embrace a world he had never known was still unsettling, but the more he thought about the opportunity, the clearer it became. The truth was, he couldn't afford to let this chance slip by. He could give Ethan the life he had always dreamed of, a life far from the one they were scraping by now. Victoria called him one morning, her voice calm but tinged with urgency. "Tom, I have something important I need you to handle. It's a crucial deal for my company, and I want you to oversee it. This is your opportunity to prove that you belong here. If you succeed, we'll move forward with our partnership." Tom had barely any time to process what she was asking. "What do you mean, oversee it? I'm just a mechanic, Victoria. I don't know anything about high-level business deals." Victoria's laughter was warm, reassuring. "You're not just a mechanic anymore, Tom. I believe in you. You've got the instincts, the drive, and the intelligence. This is the next step." It was a deal with an international automaker, one that could significantly expand Victoria's business. The terms were complicated. There were legal negotiations, design decisions to be made, and a lot of pressure to deliver. Tom had no formal business training, but his ability to solve problems and think practically had gotten him this far. The deal was a test of his ability to thrive in this new world, to prove that he could take on more than just fixing cars. As Tom walked into the boardroom the next day, his heart pounded. He was surrounded by high-powered executives who spoke in technical jargon that made his head spin. But when the deal hit a snag, something clicked in him. He noticed a small detail in the contract that the others had overlooked. It was a technical issue related to the vehicle's engineering that could affect the entire agreement. He stood up, his voice steady despite the nerves running through him. I think we need to revise the terms on this section, he said, pointing to the clause about the vehicle's design specs. There's a flaw in the agreement that could cause a problem down the road. We need to get it right now. Victoria's eyes locked on him, impressed. The room went quiet as the others processed what he said. His words were simple, but they had an impact. The issue was addressed, and the deal continued smoothly from there. By the end of the meeting, Tom felt a rush of pride. He had done it. He had just navigated a high-stakes business deal that had seemed impossible at the start. As the meeting broke up, Victoria approached him with a smile. "You did great, Tom. You're not just a mechanic. You're a part of this team now." It was the validation he needed. Tom felt a wave of relief wash over him. This was the first real step into a world he had never imagined, and it felt like he had finally earned his place. Weeks went by, and Tom found himself settling into his new role. He had moved into a small but comfortable apartment with Ethan, a place that felt like a fresh start. The job had been everything he had hoped for, and more. He was still learning the ropes, but he had earned respect from Victoria and her team. His knowledge of mechanics had proven invaluable in not just keeping the company's fleet in top condition, but also contributing to new designs and innovations. Victoria, too, had become an unexpected presence in his life. She was always professional, but their conversations had grown more personal. They would share coffee breaks in the mornings, discussing everything from business to their favorite books to the challenges of balancing work with family life. There was an easy camaraderie between them that neither could deny. It was clear that their bond was growing, and though neither of them spoke of it, there was a palpable attraction simmering beneath the surface. One evening, after a particularly successful presentation for a new client, Victoria asked Tom to stay behind for a private conversation. "Tom, I've been thinking," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "You've done more than I ever expected, not just with the business, but with everything. You've shown me what true dedication looks like." Tom was silent for a moment, unsure of what she was getting at. "It's all just part of the job, Victoria. I'm doing what I can." Victoria's gaze softened, her eyes intense. "It's more than just the job. You've changed everything for me, Tom. I've been so focused on work that I didn't realize what I was missing. But you've brought something else to my life, something I didn't expect." Tom's heart skipped a beat. There it was, the feeling they had both been ignoring. He wasn't sure what to say, but before he could speak, Victoria reached across the table, gently taking his hand. "I know this is unexpected," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "but I want you to know that this means something more than business to me. I can't ignore the connection we have." Tom's world seemed to stop for a moment. The room felt smaller, the weight of their unspoken feelings now hanging in the air. For so long he had told himself this was just about the job, about making a better life for Ethan. But now he realized it was about something more, a chance for a new beginning. He squeezed her hand gently. "I don't know where this will lead, but I'm willing to find out." Victoria smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile. "I'm glad. I think this is the start of something important." As they sat there, hand in hand, the uncertainty of the past seemed to fade away. Tom had started this journey not knowing what to expect, but now he could see the path clearly ahead. It wasn't just about success or money. It was about building a life, a future with people he cared about. And for the first time, he felt truly hopeful about the future. Ethan had a bright future ahead of him, and so did Tom. He had saved a life, yes, but in the process, he had found his own. It was just the beginning.